exactly why they're saying what they're saying.
Give the crazies all of California. It's already land of fruits and nuts. Yeah, we can give them California. I'm fine with that. They can live in LA. It's fine.
It has been 1 month since Southern California exploded in a fierce fire
They can have
toward
that.
the Palisades and
Yeah, that's horrifying. There's a number of business ventures, actually, not just in streaming, but in other venues. She was part of the numerous metas that the right got really, really upset about. The hot tub meta is probably one of the ones you heard about, where streamers realized that they couldn't wear bikinis on their streams unless they were at pools, and so they started putting little teeny inflatable, pools in the back of their streamer rooms, filling them with water, and then sitting in the pools, and then taking donations to write people's names on their bodies. A lot of insecure men on the internet got really, really upset about that and said that things have gone too far and that Twitch has effectively become, a pornography website, essentially because they are men who, on one end, I mean, if you want to take like XQC as an example, totally willing to, demonstrate to the world how horny they are for boobies and stuff like that. But again, they don't like women being in control of their own boobies or their own bodies or their own sexuality. So they've effectively consistently tried to attack Amouranth and other streamers who would do that kind of stuff. But this one makes me really sad to see because, if anything, the LGBTQ plus community was one of the most vocal and I'd say long-standing supporters of sex workers, of sex work, stating emphatically that sex work is real work and that we should stop trying to target women who want to, profit off their own sexuality or their own bodies, and that it's ridiculous that insecure men on one end will be, posting how hot they think this Instagram model is or sliding into Instagram models' DMs constantly, while at the same time being like, this is evil and sinful and the downfall of society style stuff. It fucking sucks. But Amouranth says that LGBTQ plus activists shown here should have been burnt during the LA fires. Source from Kick.
And you could 9 times out of 10 figure out exactly why they're saying what they're saying.
Give the crazies all of California. It's already land of fruits and nuts. Yeah, we can give them California. I'm fine with that. They can live in LA. It's fine.
It has been 1 month since Southern California exploded in a fierce fire toward the Palisades and beyond. Just a few hours later, on the other side of LA County, another deadly fire breaks out, the Eaton Fire. It raced across Altadena and Pasadena. The two fires charred more than 37,000 acres.
They can all live. That's like a lovely community.
Structures and cost 29 people their lives.
And yeah, just a massive S. What the fuck? Like, first off, like, I know if you are a professional kick streamer or you've signed a kick streaming contract after a while, like, you're eventually just going to do something shitty or abhorrent. That seems to be kind of like a rule of the internet these days. Kick streamers, if you didn't know, Kick is the cryptocurrency gambling website, marketing, streaming site, effectively run by Stake and Stake.com's empire of cryptocurrency gambling. It was started because there was a massive crackdown by Twitch on cryptocurrency gambling streams and the entire, gambling meta, ironically run by a lot of the same people who were trying to shut down Amouranth and, the hot tub meta, and women who were, again, in bikinis. They were attacked by XQC train wrecks. They were all calling them, whores and sluts and all this kind of shit. But then they would do that and then be like, all right, now I'm going to be gambling for about 24 hours straight, juicing. And, that's going to be my source of content that I put out there into the world. And so, on her kick stream, just watching Asmongold's disgusting ass video where he again was doing Holocaust revisionism and then, taking, I assume, reading one of her chats and going from that to talking about how apparently LGBTQ plus activists and stuff deserve to be placed in the LA fires. Is disgusting. It's not only disgusting, it's like profoundly sad because it's one of those moments where like that is a community that has been standing up for you and pushing back against all of the disgusting ass right-wing assholes and men, specifically insecure men who constantly wanted to attack her simply because she was making money off being attractive on her own stream and just going after her and being like, she's an OnlyFans model, she's an OnlyFans whore, blah blah blah. And obviously I don't think there's going to be a single LGBTQ plus person who's going to waver deliver on that. Sex workers work. That's just like something that you advocate on the behalf of, to destigmatize the people who do that for a living. And then to turn on the LGBTQ plus community like this in not just a subtle kind of a, oh, well, you know, I think like the alphabet mafia has gotten out of control or blah, blah, but to go in this direction where it just sounds like this is more extreme rhetoric than even Asmongold was saying. This is more extreme than Asmongold talking about how wokeness destroys video games, or how you know, yet another game is being ruined because it features a woman or shit like that, or yeah, apparently the only reason that there's queer representation in video games is because of the woke and all that kind of stuff. Now to be like, you know, how did she put it? The fruits and vegetables can go here. This is where they belong. Like, I don't know. It's horrifying and sad to see.
Too bad it didn't cause the right people their lives.
And you could 9 times out of 10 figure out exactly why they're saying what they're saying.
Give the crazies all of California. It's already land of fruits and nuts. Yeah, we can give them California. I'm fine with that. They can live in LA. That's fine.
It has been 1 month since Southern California exploded in a fierce fire tore through the Palisades and beyond.
Yeah. That's fucking horrifying.
Algorithms have always prioritized right-wing content, but they're doing it now more than ever because, again, that's where you get ad money. That's where you get engagement. And so, like, you know, it's easy to look at these platforms, and I think that now this is more true, but like for a long time, the way that they prioritized that sort of content wasn't really necessarily a deliberate partisan issue. It was more just like, this makes money, so let's keep doing this. And so you have that in conjunction with this reactionary movement in games, and it all just sort of came together in this way that is now self-sustaining about a year ago with like the Sweet Baby Inc. conspiracy and everything like that. And ever since then, they have found something new to latch onto. Some new game, some new trailer, some new character, whatever. Like every week they have a new one. And then that bubbles up in all these different ways because they also realized that they could like piss off people who are more like, you know, left-leaning by doing this regularly. And those left-leaning people would then talk about people like Mark Kern, who's been mentioned in chat already, and say like, look at this dumb motherfucker. I can't believe he's saying this. But that's what they want you to do, because then what you're saying gets elevated to everybody else. And after a while, it starts to look legitimate in the eyes of some, or like these, you know, lefty types are waging this really, like they're waging this crusade against you and you're the victim. And like, you can start making all of these arguments that if anybody examines it particularly deeply, don't actually hold water, but it doesn't matter. That's not your point. That's not your goal. Your goal is simply to be in everyone's faces constantly and to sort of like dictate the terms of engagement in terms of how people talk about video games. And like, they've succeeded in a lot of ways. Like if a new game is about to come out and you go search its name on YouTube and like it's a bigger name, you don't get like gameplay footage and trailers. You get, this game is woke and it's destined to fail and it's fucking Asmongold or whoever. And the first like 4 or 5 videos are just that shit. And so if you're somebody who doesn't follow games that closely, it would be very easy to come away with the impression that like these are the main issues. Even as a lot of people are like, I don't actually care about this. This doesn't matter.
But that's really scary because like I think there's a lot of young people who want to look up those games or those game trailers just because they like the games. Right, like effectively, if this strategy is you know, in some ways winning for the anti-woke crowd, what would you say is like anything that can be done in the inverse? Because, you know, outside of just being like, this is ridiculous, or the whole you know, critical mass of the anti-woke crowd going so like, you know, Ouroboros in their own circle that they've actually started consuming themselves because they don't even know what is or is not woke anymore. But I can't depend on that alone to try and stand up for, say, like LGBTQ plus people in gaming representation.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard because like so much of this is built into the way that these platforms operate now. And so after a certain point, like we ideally would want platforms to change what they prioritize, but they're not going to because they're still making money. And so all you can really do is, you know, try to inform people as best as you can. Somebody in my shoes, I'm a journalist. And so I write about this, albeit in a way that, because, you know, I try to stay, because the site that I founded and write for tries not to be beholden to all these platforms, like our audience reach is going to be smaller. But yeah, I mean, that's all you can really do. Like, I think that it's especially key for normal people, for people like those in your chat, to like if they meet someone who has been ensnared in this web, even for a moment, because like what's been bothering me recently is those times when I'll like meet someone who's kind of a normie and it's like, oh yeah, I heard about that game and I heard it was bad because of like, and they parrot some right-wing talking points. And I'm like, oh Christ, this is okay. So, and then at that point you can be like, so actually not many people think that. That's a very loud vocal minority. They make a bunch of YouTube videos. Like, and then instead of being like, you know, you're wrong and you're dumb for being wrong, just be like, so here's what's actually going on, like blah, 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 you know, just be chill about it, but, you know, inform them. And then that's kind of the best thing that you can do. Beyond that, you just got to like trust people to have a decent bullshit meter, which a lot of people don't. But I think that also this kind of rhetoric, especially around games, when every single issue that they like pick on is so similar to the last, like it does have a shelf life. Eventually people start to become wise to like, wait, didn't you say that about the other game too? And about everything else ever?
I feel like there's never a correction there though. Cause I feel like they've been caught multiple times in like fake outrage over say like, Prey was supposed to be super bad because it featured indigenous cast and indigenous, you know, production teams, and all of a sudden that movie turned out to be badass, and so they all just kind of went silent right after the fact, and then like, you know, it was like none of that ever happened. We weren't hating on this trailer simply because we're racist, right? But I don't ever see them actually acknowledging or trying to change course, because like I think it's.
No, I mean the people who perpetuate this nonsense will never try to change course. Right. To be clear, the only people that you can like. The people that you can help out are the ones who are being caught in the crossfire of all this. Like you have two pretty delineated sides. You have like the people who are on the left in and around video games who see all this and know it's bullshit immediately. And then you have the anti-woke crowd that's trying to perpetuate all of this, and they will never be swayed whatsoever. I think that also a talking point that gets buried a little bit that can be helpful in combating a lot of this is that, and this is just evident in my eyes, the anti-woke people in video games don't like video games.
Yeah.
Like I mean, for one, they spend all their time talking about how they hate every game that comes out or how they're bad now.
Except for Stellar Blade.
And for two, like they are fucking drive-by grifters. Like they don't play any of this stuff. They don't care about it. It's all a political platform for them. And I think that the more often you point that out and the more often you like get that message across, the better of a chance you will have of convincing people not to listen to like these grifters.
Kind of like how Elon Musk is not an actual gamer.
I mean, the Path of Exile player of all time, Elon Musk.
Yeah. And Diablo 4. Don't take away his stolen valor.
At the same time, he actually uses two keyboards and mice at the same time. Like they're right next to each other. It's just like...
Actually, you know, the funny thing about that is I think that was the first time that, you know, whatever you want to call the regular normie types who aren't super politically, you know, active, turned on him. That was the first time I saw people like Asmongold, for example.
Yeah, Asmongold fucking turned on him. That was funny. I mean,
but
it didn't last, but it was funny.
No, I mean, no. At the end of the day, I think Asmongold is more interested in being close to, you know, close to Daddy Musk than he is effectively calling out fake gamers. But yeah, I guess that goes to what you were talking about in that, like, they won't actually ever truly have people turn on them unless they're called out for being frauds. Effectively. Right.
And even then, like, you've got to, you know, be clear and consistent about it. I mean, so much of, and you know this from talking about politics and whatnot, but so much of messaging is repetition, is like having this very simple idea that you convey over and over and over, because people take so long to internalize an idea. And so you've got to just like constantly hit them with it. And that's what the right has figured out really well. That's why the right only says like 4 things. But those things have become extremely pervasive in society. Like immigration is not a real issue, at least insofar as we have the ability to handle it, serious people. And I don't say that to denigrate like the people that I, for example, talked about in my book, or creators like yourself, or like, because there are also a lot of very serious people doing interesting things. But I think that there's this like terrible feedback loop of unserious people on the left feeding these really unserious people on the right. And they like both boost each other, and it becomes this horrible black hole from which a lot of people in and around the industry have trouble escaping, and I don't think they're worth the time.
But my only fear is that, like, I personally consider video games to be art, right, and their own medium, like an art form.
I mean, they must be.
Yeah, I know they have to be, or I've wasted my life. But there's also like, you know, when in comparison to say other things, movies are a little bit more comparable because it can take sometimes, you know, 2 to 3 to 5 years for a development cycle to happen. In video games, it's really long, right? Like in video games, sometimes we're talking like between 7 to 8 years for certain major AAA titles, and we're seeing now, say like a game like Interstellar. I think it looks awesome. Obviously, you know, that production studio just really can do no wrong, so it's probably going to be epic. Yeah. And the backlash to it is already so extreme, based, of course, because women, I guess, with muscles equals woke or bad.
Right, of course.
Yeah, but I am seeing a lot of major companies, maybe not in gaming, but say everything from, you know, Target to Meta to you name it, saying that they are going to be rolling back their either LGBTQ plus representation or protection or having more visibility,
DEI initiatives
or the DEI initiative
yeah.
or stuff like that. Is that something that is an effect eventually, because we're, you know, again, we might see a game like Interstellar come out now because it's been in development for 6 to 7 years, and then are we going to start seeing gaming studios actually worry about this kind of stuff, as in like we cannot risk the anti-woke backlash if we start developing a game like that?
I think there are a couple of things here. One of them is that, you know, this notion of go woke, go broke is really stupid.
Yeah.
Like it's almost never borne itself out. And the reality is, as soon as you start catering to narrower and narrower audiences, for example, like aggrieved white men, your potential audience shrinks. Mm-hmm. And so I think that we are not far off from a backlash to this backlash, where all these companies realize, shit, fewer people are buying the things that we make now because we're only catering to angry white men. And like those are not all the people in the world. The reason these companies started pursuing wider audiences in the first place is that there are more of them. And if you appeal to them, then you can make a lot more money. You know, again, like what companies are doing right now is what they think is the correct thing to do based on public sentiment right now. But as soon as public sentiment shifts, they will shift again. They don't actually make their own decisions. They don't think for themselves. But to bring it back to like a useful example for if we're talking about like video game coverage. So like this week, right? WB closed 3 video game studios, including Monolith, who was working on Wonder Woman. And like they've been having a lot of trouble with their video game properties in general. And I think that the kind of anti-woke crowd's main touchstone for this was Suicide Squad, where they were like, you know, that game was too woke, and that's why it failed. That's why nobody liked it.
But
and
it would
be very easy to focus on the way that they're conveying it, the way that they're framing it, and then to say like, okay, well, you know, let's talk about it from that perspective. Like, actually, it's not too woke, blah, 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 blah. That's dumb, and that's also incorrect. That's not why it failed. It failed because it was not a particularly well-made video game. And the reason for that was not wokeness. The reason for that, and this is the sort of thing that I think good journalism can cover and has covered, is mismanagement at a studio level. Is this company, these executives who didn't know what they wanted, and they took this long-time single-player studio and said, make a live service game. Add all of these elements to it so that we can expand it forever and it can compete with like fucking Valorant. And it's like, no, that's a really dumb idea. But you guys don't actually play or understand games, so you're just making recommendations based on where you think the money is right now. And you are then forcing those decisions on these teams of hundreds or thousands of people who have to enact your will. And then when that fails, when your fuck up causes this cascading disaster, all those people get laid off, not you. And like, that's the sort of shit that people in video games, and that myself definitely, should be covering. Like that's the way to actually talk about it.
That sounds like the exact same problem that's just happening to the U.S. government in large.
Exactly.
Sounds like, once again, the exact same dynamic. Well, it's nice to know.
Somebody in chat talked about Concord. Concord was the same fucking thing. Concord was in development for so long and had this weird identity crisis when it finally came out because it was trying to chase like 8 different trends. And so, of course, it didn't succeed. And it's all mismanagement. The big story right now, video game companies and like games being super mid, basically, is mismanagement at the top level. And like that, all these executives who get infinite chances should be out. They should not be running these companies anymore. They've demonstrated repeatedly, to the tune of losses of sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars, that they are not the right people for the job.
Do you think then that the one person who can save video games is Elon Musk and his new AI game development studio?
Man, that's probably never going to materialize. Let's be real.
Yeah.
And B, if it does, it will be so a good point. Very good point that like, that AI art is like the aesthetic of modern fascism. Like it's perfect for it. Here, wait, I need to find this post because it was really smart. Yeah, they were like,
also some more news has a whole thing on that they've got a whole segment on how it completely directly applies to modern fascism.
Yeah, they're like, just watch the Trump Gaza video, and whoever wrote a couple weeks ago about generative AI being the new aesthetics of fascism could not have asked for a better case in point. Which, like, yeah.
Anyone who hasn't seen it, it's essentially Trump doing a promo ad for turning Gaza into a resort, and surprisingly also extremely horny with a lot of dancing people in bikinis, and Trump hooking up and cheating on his wife in the video as well. Also strange, but like it's nightmare fuel. But it's just so dystopian to see something like that, and to know like on so many layers just how horrifying this image is. Like not only is this like an ad for a ethnic cleansing post genocide recolonization project, but it's so strangely horny, and it's all theft, and it's all taken the work and labor of other people and turned it into this into this nightmare that we see ourselves in.
Yep. Yeah, and it's such a perfect encapsulation of all of it too, right? Because like, yeah, what is a colonial project other than like taking the work of other people and repurposing it for yourself? And then AI is the same shit, just digital. Like these things all work in conjunction because they're powered by the same ideas and the same people saying, yeah, I should actually just be able to own everything. Everything that other people do should be mine because I was, blessed by divine right or whatever.
See, I was essentially waiting for the perfect soundbite. So now that we have it, this is actually a fantastic interview. Nathan, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. Do you want to tell everyone where they can find Stream Big and where they can also find the rest of your work?
Yeah, so you can find Stream Big, the triumphs and turmoils of Twitch and the stars behind the screen, pretty much wherever books are sold. So, Amazon, but also don't buy things from Amazon, or physical bookstores or wherever else. I think somebody earlier dropped a link in chat.
What's a physical bookstore?
There it is. Yeah, so you can just go check out that link. I also own and operate.
Don't let this happen to you. Go to serfscoffee.com to order the only end-to-end owned indigenous coffee company that delivers blood-free, conflict-free, and cruelty-free beans right to your door. 0% of people who drink serfscoffee.com have exploded spontaneously. By ordering right now, you get 10% off plus free shipping, and it's the best way to enjoy delicious coffee while not exploding. That's serfscoffee.com, serfscoffee.com.
Attention everyone, this independent series is made entirely possible thanks to our patrons. It was produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Bohem, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, and Words Greenwood. Not to mention all the other patrons who now see on screen. We couldn't have done this show without you. If you can help support the show, please check out patreon.com/theserfs to unlock bonus secret episodes as well as get the content before anyone else.